live from the Counterpunch Media mobile studios in Grand Blanc, Michigan. It's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 32 of the Derek Noel Fitness Live. I don't know why I said "the" in front of that, but makes it sound like it's a little more official. We'll have some fun with that. I can always roll with that reason. So we are almost to the end of the year, which means we have a lot of things to reflect on. The past two episodes, I have reflected on the top fitness trends. So in terms of like training and things like that, and wearables, that was about a month ago now that I talked about that. And the episode after that, so the episode last week, we talked about the top nutrition trends of 2019. And I feel like there are a couple pretty good lists there. And I'm really looking forward to talking about today. We're going to be talking about what I think the biggest trends are going to be coming into 2020. So if we want to get a jump start on 2020, this is going to be a nice list. Or even if, actually, I can do a whole separate list of what to do to make yourself successful in 2020 that will allow you to, actually follow through with what your goals are rather than just letting them fall through the wayside. But real quick, before we get into that, we do always, as always now with our show, it is a thing every week, have our open phone lines. So with that, you can get a hold of us at 810-412-5999. Again, that is 810-412-5999. If you are listening live, you can go ahead and call in. Remember, we do, for those who are listening to this later, we do these recordings live every Sunday at 8 p.m. From 8 until 8:30 is the show, and in that we take some calls. So if you'd want to be able to get in on this, if you're someone who's listening later, try and give us a phone call. Probably about 8:10 is usually when we open up the phone lines, usually 5 or 10 minutes after the beginning of the show. A couple weeks ago, we had Sir Brian Brody calling in, asked some really good questions. And as always, if you have anything, please feel free to ask. Drop some comments in the thread. If you're watching on Facebook, I always look at that to check that out. Or if you are just listening in, feel free to give us a phone call. I would love to be able to talk to you and answer some of your questions. So one last thing before we get started, if you could please give this a like and a share. Comment, let me know that you're watching. That would be awesome. We're going to be having a really good show tonight. I can't wait to talk about a bunch of this stuff. But let's go ahead and get started through this list, through some of the things that I think are going to become really big trends in 2020 in the health and fitness industry. Number one, which was actually on the list of 2019 when I went over the top fitness trends, is wearable technology. A lot more people are wearing Fitbits. They're wearing heart rate monitors, or they're using their Fitbit as a heart rate monitor. I use a Whoop band, which is always tracking and tells me basically whether I should push or lay off my training a little bit based on my recovery, which it tells off of my resting heart rate. Because, fun fact, the less rested you are and the less recovered you are, the higher your heart rate is, because the more strained your body is. So your heart rate naturally rests a little bit higher. Same thing if you're sleep deprived, that's also a form of strain on the body. So your heart rate naturally rests a little bit higher. So it's a good way to do that. You have things like Aura bands, which is literally a ring version, which can track a lot of things. But I think one of the big things is that I've seen so far, and that I think is going to continue to be a trend, is being able to gamify or track biometric stuff. So what I mean by gamify is turning it into a little bit of a competition between, say, Heidi and I are Fitbit buddies, and I'm wearing a Fitbit and she's wearing a Fitbit. Who can get more steps? Chances are probably her. She's a nurse and she's on her feet all the time, but there are those kinds of things going on. So all of a sudden we can get in competitions with each other to see, oh man, who can get more steps? And something like walking, that's honestly something that you really can't overdo. And it also helps bump up that whole calorie burn, and it might help you lose weight. For a lot of people, actually, it will help you lose weight, which is really nice. Another example of this, which I think was actually really cool, is Nintendo came out with a game for the Nintendo Switch. So for all those parents out there who are cursing their video game systems, they came out with a game for the Nintendo Switch, and I think it works off of like a couple bands that are motion sensors, and you literally have to do different exercises in order to beat bosses. So it starts on an easy difficulty where you'll have to do like push-ups or squats or burpees, and it'll be able to tell if you're doing those things, and then you have to rack up a certain amount of those exercises in order to beat a boss. Which is really cool, especially if you're trying to get your kids who play games all the time, if you're trying to get them to become a little bit more active. Who knows, maybe throw a game at them that kind of tricks them into doing that whole fitness thing, but they don't even think about it because that's what they have to do in order to complete the game and beat the game. If you don't believe that game exists, by the way, I do not remember what it's called, but if you type in YouTube and you look for like Nintendo Switch Fitness RPG, fitness role-playing game is what that stands for those who don't speak nerd like me, then you'll be able to find that. It might be a really cool gift if you're looking for something last minute for your kids too. It might be a really good idea. Or if you know someone whose kids have a Nintendo Switch, boom. Or if you're just not a kid and you want something like that, I know that's something that's right down my alley. That works too. Heidi's saying, I need that. It is actually really cool. I have a few of my friends, a few of my really big, like, nerdy friends in that friend group, because for those who don't know, I'm a giant nerd. I'm a former computer science major. I like surrounding myself with those kinds of people, but I also enjoy surrounding myself with people in the fitness industry. It's kind of like I'm a jack of all trades when it comes to that stuff. But they literally like break a sweat playing this game, and they think it's really fun, and it's almost like they're not even working out, which is really cool. Another trend, the second one, I think is that on the other end, I think people are going to become a little bit more unplugged from those technology things to just get a good workout in. You can easily go out for a hike or anything like that, and those kind of outside things are, especially because technology is starting to become so overwhelming to a lot of people. I think some people are just going to be kind of shrugging it off, and honestly, some people should. There's a book from a guy named I believe it is Ben Greenfield and Dr. Andy Galpin. Dr. Andy Galpin is one of my favorite people. They wrote a book, I believe it is actually called Unplugged, and it talks about how the reliance on technology in health and fitness or in life can really start to affect other things, and how and why you should actually disconnect from those things. It's a really cool read. I do recommend, you could find it on Amazon if you just type in Andy Galpin, that's ANDYGALPIN, Unplugged, you'll be able to find that. It's a really, really good read about how to actually navigate and not go ridiculously overboard and start wearing like 7 different bands in order to get your biometrics. Because a lot of times those workouts, you just need to like just get moving, and that's really all you need to do. Actually, real quick, I just looked down. Aldrin, my main man, is asking he needs to lose his weight and how. The number one thing, especially if you're just getting started, I don't actually know where you are at in terms of your fitness journey. I think I saw a video on Facebook of you working out with some friends a couple weeks ago, but the biggest thing is honestly watching what you're eating. I also know that you have a carbohydrate-heavy diet based on where you live, so trying to keep everything in check. Remember that no amount of exercise is going to out-train a bad diet. So you want to make sure that you're watching how many calories you're eating, because calories are king when it comes to weight loss. And then you want to make sure you're eating plenty of protein and then watching those other things. But for most people, just watching calories and getting a decent amount of protein, I'm talking anything over, for most people, 100 grams of protein a day is, and again, for some people, that's still on the low end. For me, for example, I should be eating about 150 or 160 a day. Then you'll be optimizing fat loss specifically. So again, I'm not exactly sure. I'm giving you the broad, it depends answer, but making sure you're watching the calories and getting a decent amount of protein to maintain some muscle, especially if you're working out, that's going to put you on the right track really, really quickly. That is a really good question, Aldrin. I'm glad you asked that. So let's see. Number 3, going back to the predicting trends, I think that group training is going to get even bigger, and as someone who works in a group training facility, I could be portrayed as biased as saying that, but I legitimately think that it's true, because having a group of people to work out with is a lot more, it's a lot more inviting to people than it is to just go into a gym and show up all by yourself and not knowing what you're doing and like trying to watch YouTube videos and spending all that time in the gym and thinking that everybody is watching every little thing that you're doing. It can be really intimidating. But if you join a group training facility, there are many, and there are many, many more opening up all the time because this is a really big trend. You have things like Fit Body Bootcamp and Orange Theory, and in our area there's Crunch, but there's also a 45, everything. These places are exploding. Even CrossFit gyms are can be considered a group training facility. Because a lot of them are CrossFit classes. You're in with other people. It's all about having those people around you. It's building that camaraderie, and it's almost like you're all part of the same team, which is really cool. And as a coach, I love being able to lead that team, hopefully to victory. And if there's anything going on, then I also like being that person who can help people out. Fourth one, I think strength training is also going to become more popular. So group training and high intensity interval training is really up there right now, but I really think that that the high intensity part is going to taper down, and it's going to go more into some strength training. And that comes with education, because a lot of people think that they need to be doing that high intensity, those crazy insane workouts every single day, day in and day out, in order to lose weight or in order to get strong, when in reality, strength training is actually probably better for you, especially for your joints in the long term. Because strength training, especially if you're doing a bodybuilding style of training, you are working the muscles a lot more than you're working the joints. And a lot of times in high intensity interval training, if the coach has a lapse in judgment and writes, for example, like literally every single exercise, you're jumping, you're bouncing, you're dropping, you're being explosive, you're throwing things. All of those things lead to wear and tear in the joints. If those are all things going on in the same exact workout, your body is just going to get wrecked. You're going to start having shoulder and elbow issues. And a lot of these people who are in high intensity interval training, that's why a lot of people fall off, is because then if their knees were already sore from playing a sport in high school or college, and then they're coming in and their knees really can't handle that because they have like weak tendons or the cartilage is gone or any of these other things, then they just get more sore and they start to hurt worse, and then people fall off instead of asking a coach what they can do to modify it because they feel bad about having to modify it, but they shouldn't. So I think strength training is going to become more popular because, number one, it is way better to gain that strength. It's way better for building muscle, and you can still burn a lot of calories. And if you like picking up heavy things, powerlifting is definitely a really, really fun sport to get into it. Number 5, and this may be me taking a jab at a lot of social media influencers, but I think number 5, there's going to be a trend towards following actual real advice from qualified professionals instead of Jenny on Instagram, who weighs 110 pounds soaking wet, and she's 5'8", so she has that model body, and all of a sudden, because she has that model body, people start asking her for fitness advice, and she has them eat like 300 calories in detox and do 7 days of HIIT cardio a day, or 7 days a week, I should say. Words are hard. That is terrible advice all around, by the way. But unfortunately, on Instagram, people see these people with great bodies and they automatically want to follow what they say. Those celebrities pushing detoxes, a lot of them are not qualified professionals. You want to be able to find someone who is a qualified professional. If you send me a message on who to follow or specific people to unfollow, I can honestly hook you up with a list of both, because I know some people who have millions of followers that you should never take their advice. And I know some people who only have like 5,000 or 10,000 followers that would love to have you as one of their followers to be able to promote good information. I always make sure that I curate information before I give it out to people. I like to pride myself on the fact that I do my research before that. So make sure you're getting your advice from qualified professionals. People have their certifications. And by the way, as a qualified professional, as a qualified certified group trainer and with my CSCS and everything like that, I am not actually still qualified to give specific meal plans. A lot of people just ask me exactly what they should eat, and technically that's outside of my scope of practice. In some states it's actually illegal, and I can be sued if I give a specific meal plan and something happens. That's what registered dietitians are for. That's what registered nutritionists are for, to be able to provide those specific meal plans. And anytime you see one, you want to find out if it was written by a registered dietitian, because that is their scope. That is outside of my scope, even as a nutrition coach, to be able to provide those things. I can give you general advice, but I cannot specify. So if you do ever ask me for some information, please expect that coming forward. Real quick, before I get into the sixth one, we are going to take a quick break.
You're listening to Derek Noel Fitness here on IPMNation.com/counterpunch. He'll bring the smarts. Now the sweat, well, that's up to you.
And we are back. So we just talked about qualified professionals. That also goes along with number 6, which is actually the question that Aldrin asked earlier in the show. I think balanced macronutrients are going to become a thing. I really think that people need to understand what macronutrients are. As much as people just want to be told what they're eating, I feel like if people understand what proteins do in the body, what fats do in the body, what carbohydrates do in the body, which I'll talk more about carbs in a second, I really feel like people are going to get a more firm handle, and it's going to be easier for them to actually lose weight, because they're going to understand exactly what a calorie is, exactly what fat is. I still have people who at boot camp think that they're burning fat when they're working out, when they're not burning fat, they're burning calories. A calorie is just a unit of energy. I literally did an entire show on this. I think it was in like one of the first 10 shows that I did. I'm sure someone could probably throw it in the comments below if they'd like to go out to the YouTube. Or if you're watching on YouTube, if you could hop over to Facebook real quick and drop that in the comments, I would really appreciate it. But I think having an understanding of what these macros are, at least calories and protein, because again, honestly, the levels of fat and the level of carbohydrates don't matter so much to the normal average person. Not to say that people who have diabetes aren't normal, but obviously they have to watch their diet a little bit more. And again, that's why you want to go with qualified professionals, because I'm definitely not qualified to give a diabetic a meal plan, for example. That's what registered dietitians are for. Please find them. Get a referral to them if you need to. But yeah, balanced macros, figuring out what your calories are, and figuring out how to accurately measure. And that's not to say that you need to measure all the time, but everybody should measure for at least 2 or 3 weeks to see exactly how much food they're really eating, to see what their calorie numbers are actually at. Because a lot of the times when people come to me and wonder why they're not losing weight because they're eating within however many calories they should, chances are they're severely underestimating how many calories they're actually eating, and that'll bump it up. That brings me to number 7. I think carbohydrates will become more widely accepted again. I think keto is already kind of like tapering down as a fad, which is awesome because carbohydrates are good. And for most people training, carbohydrates are really good, are especially good. If you're not working out, carbohydrates are a lot less important. But as soon as you introduce training of any sort, carbohydrates are going to be really good because they are your body's preferred source for fuel, and it's what your body burns through energy systems, which again I've done an episode on to be able to go through that. Number 8, I mentioned keto. Fad diets are obviously still going to be a thing. I'm just wondering what's even left, because in the past like 5 years we've made a swing from from fats are terrible to carbs are terrible to I apparently know someone who's done the carnivore diet, which means you literally only eat meat and everything in between. I have no idea what can possibly come next, but I can't wait to see what it is so that I can kind of see what's going on with it. Again, it's going to be some way to create a calorie deficit that's crazy or insane. I can't wait to see what it is. I really hope that people find out that just eating intuitively, and even that for some people intuitively is overeating because they've never trained themselves to how much food they actually need, so their body just wants everything. But being able to eat intuitively and eat flexibly, so for your Christmas party, you can eat 8 or 9 cookies, and then you'll know like, oh hey, I should probably taper off I should probably taper off the carbs on my actual dinner or something like that. So you could just make informed decisions and not have to be super bummed out because all of a sudden you can't eat anything anymore. When you tell yourself you can't eat anything anymore, that's where you fall off. Number 9, I think remote nutrition coaching, so online nutrition coaching, is going to grow. Again, I'm not just saying that because I am also an online nutrition coach. If you're interested in that, as a quick aside, make sure you send a message to me so we can chat. Make sure I'm the right fit for you. But there are more and more people who are becoming in the know, or there are a lot more personal trainers or group trainers who are learning how to do nutrition. And the nice thing is, unlike doing personal training, you don't have to be next to the person in order to coach nutrition. Really, in most cases, you can send an email once a week to make sure that you're on it, or for those people who really need their hand held because they just want to learn everything and they really need that daily accountability, that's a thing too. And don't be afraid, but just know that it is going to be costing some amount of money because that nutrition coaching does actually get a lot more in depth than you as the client can see. There's a lot of things going on under the hood, especially as we coaches try and analyze what's going on behind the scenes with everything. Like I can work with someone who can log everything, who's an athlete, who's training for a sport, which I am right now, and I can work with Judy, who has never even thought about doing a diet before in her life, but she realized she needs to lose 150 pounds, and how do we do that? Two complete polar opposites of the spectrum. It's not one size fits all. It's not figuring out a template. It's figuring out how can I individualize it. And I guess I should say remote individualized nutrition coaching will grow, so amending that to make sure that that's how it goes. Number 10, supplements are always going to be around. If I was thinking of the supplements that are going to grow larger in 2020, protein powders are always super popular. Pre-workouts are always super popular. I think CBD products are going to become a big thing, like CBD creams for pain relief and things like that. Again, in most cases, you don't have to fear THC or CBD oils or creams causing false positives on drug tests, if your company still drug tests for that stuff. So CBD is going to be a really big one, and it is a really good sleep aid as well. Carradine is asking, what was it called? I am already kind of... honestly, if you could give me a little bit of clarification real quick, Carradine, I will love to jump back to that. In terms of supplements, by the way, a lot of supplements and a lot of those MLM companies, not to name any names, actually I'm totally going to, Herbalife is an MLM, Advocare is an MLM, anything like that. Thrive, which I don't even want to get into a discussion about any of these. I'm not going to talk about any of them, whether they're positive or negative, but they like to push their products on people. Really, the only, I'm telling you right now, the only supplements you really should be taking right now are probably vitamin D and maybe magnesium, or if you have problems with iron. Again, talk to your doctors to see what you're actually deficient in. Get those blood tests, have them do the blood work, and they'll be able to tell you what you need. Again, I'm not a qualified person to do blood tests or tell you what you should need, but in general, most people are deficient in vitamin D in some sort. So vitamin D3 supplement is awesome. And then obviously, like if you're taking vitamin C, that's a really good thing too. And 11, marketing won't change at all. They're still going to be pushing. This is the magic pill. So please, please, please do your due diligence. Reach out to someone who can answer these questions for you. I would love to be able to help out. I know plenty of other people on Instagram who would love to be able to help you out as well. Make sure we are sticking with that. Again, marketing is always going to be the same. It's always going to be trying to push the next best thing on you. Please just do not fall for the hype unless the hype is actually warranted, which in most cases it isn't. So that concludes my list of 11 things of predicting trends. Now, I have no idea how much time I actually have left. I'm told I have 5 minutes left. So in these next 5 minutes, if you have any questions, drop them. Again, Carradine, if you had the question of what I was saying, of what it is, I would love to be able to answer that real quick. I'll keep an eye on that. But I also want to talk about how to set yourself up for success in the new year. Here's a statistic that just came out based on a study that was done. A majority of people, that means more than 50% of people, I'm willing to put that up. Most people fall off of their New Year's resolution. So that thing that go starting January 1st, I'm going to do this. They fall off within 12 days. That means by January 13th, they have fallen back into the same habits, same eating things, same eating cycles, same workout or lack of workout cycles. That's 13 days, and then they're back to the same, and it's more of the same. And it's a constant repeat. I don't want you to be that person. The biggest thing that people do is they try and bite off more than they can chew. Think of it like you have a plate and you already have a plate full of food. That's everything that's going on in your life right now. All of a sudden, magically in New Year's, you think that plate is going to be clear, but it's not. That stuff is still there in your life. And as soon as you put more stuff on, oh, I'm going to start working out 5 or 6 days a week. Yeah, that takes up about half of my plate. I'm stacked up now. Oh, and I'm going to be meal prepping 2 times a week for different meals every week. Oh man. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, my eyes were bigger than my mouth. I can't finish all of that. And you fall back off and you take that stuff off really quickly. So make sure that whenever you make any changes, you can adjust the rest of your life in order to help accommodate that. That way you are not taking off and biting off more than you can chew. And please, 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 as someone who has seen a lot of people fall off, and I hate every time I see it, it hurts me deeply to see people stop doing what they're doing because they find a temporary setback or they realize that they bit off more than they can chew. Go in small steps. Please make things sustainable. Figure out one habit, like one habit a week. Figure out how you can crush that habit that week and then start to add something so that it turns into a muscle memory and then it turns into that habit of just something you do. That motivation is not always going to be there. That New Year's motivation will not be there even 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road. Otherwise, those people wouldn't have been failing by January 13th. So set yourself up for success, figure it out, plan it out. If you need help, if you'd love to see me put together a primer on how to set yourself up for success and how to start small and build, I would love to do that. But I only want to do it if people actually want it. So make sure you drop a line or shoot me a message or something asking me for that. That way I can make sure that I give that to you. Heidi is saying, right, like the magic spoon. I'm assuming that was talking about when I was talking about marketing. That's exactly what it is. It's that magic pill. It's going to make you burn 30 pounds of fat in 10 days. Actually, I think you sent me something like that a couple weeks ago, Heidi, and we both had a pretty good laugh about it. But again, talking about those New Year's resolutions, don't wait until January 1st. Start now. Start today. As I'm talking to you, think about what you can do tomorrow to set yourself up. Because guess what? If you start now, and you start with those 1 or 2 habits, by the time you hit New Year's, which by the way, as of this recording, is 10 days away. Christmas is 3 days away. That's nuts, I know. That's already 2 habits that you can get down, and you're already 2 steps ahead of where you would be if you waited until January 1st. So please start now, start planning it out now. Don't do anything willy-nilly. Figure out what small steps you can do. Those small things lead up to the big thing, and let's crush that big thing in 2020. That is all I want to help anyone with, whether it is helping you with workouts or helping you with nutrition. Please make sure that you know, even if you need to put a reminder in, 2 weeks from now, send Derek a message asking if I'm doing this the right way, and I will let you know. So, that being said, okay, tomorrow I had a shake and cookies. I'm not going to lie, I've eaten a lot of cookies today, but I think I only had 2 meals, unless you want to count all of the cookies I ate as 3. It's okay. Just figure out where you got to go. Maybe have a little bit of self-control tomorrow. That is all I have. Make sure you give this video a share. I feel like there's a lot of good information, especially in this tail end. I know someone on your friends list is always going to need to hear that, whether you think they will or not. Every share really helps me out. If you could go over to the YouTube channel, that's Counterpunch Media, and give that a subscribe. Maybe go give that video a view. That'll help out. And you can find me on Instagram at @TheDerekNoel. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/TheDerekNoel. If you're listening on IPM Nation, thank you for tuning in. Have a great night, everybody.